Hello everyone, King Happy here. I'm back on Minecraft, it is official, and I'm preparing for my new third Let's Play world when 1.9 update is released. As part of that though, I've been a lot of planning on how I want to design my new world, how I want the layout of it, and trying to find a seed which is going to fit exactly to what I want. I may have found one now, which is really exciting for me. But today, what I want to do is, as part of the new Let's Play world, I want to revisit what I did on my previous two worlds. Back in 2012, 2013 was my first world, and then from 13 all the way through until end of 2014. So the two worlds that I had lasted quite a long time, and I really got a large amount of things done on them, and it's just kind of look at both of the worlds, see what I liked, see what I didn't like, and what I want to include going forward. So without further ado, let's go look at my very first YouTube Let's Play world, and we'll get right into it. And here we are, the first Let's Play world that I did. Started in 2012, and it started around version 1.2. So bear in mind when we have a look around this world, this is pre-hoppers. Hoppers just came in at the end of the world, and I never really applied them to the farms. We hadn't really understood how to use them very well. There's no sorting systems. This is before mass storage was really easy. This is before you had automatic farms which just ran all the time and collected things. You normally had to have massive farms that produced a lot in one go, or you had to have some very strange mechanics with portals, which I will show you when we go through. Iron farms were in their infancy. What else? So this is after a while we had things like with the skeletons near the end of this world, and really the difference between this world and my second Let's Play was that I was having a lot more fun just building things for the sake of it and just creating content and doing things that I was really enjoying rather than just focusing on massive builds all the time. So in this video we're going to skim around this world and I'll pluck out things that I really like, or things that I really regret, or just a few nostalgic interesting mechanics that we can use going forward in 1.9. There's no reason why we can't. And I would like to see a return of some of my stranger things on this world, because there are cubby holes, there are little tiny doors, elevators, and sorts of places that you wouldn't expect, which was a lot of fun to play with. Over here was my original spawn elevator lift with portals. This is the spawn of the world. Difference between the first and second Let's Play world I had. The second world has used a lot of spawn mechanics and was centered around the spawn. This one, there's a little basey type thing here, not really much, and then everything else is in a completely different location quite a while away. Yeah, that's before I really thought about the full potential of spawn chunks. So in the theory of things that are fun and basically useless, these are things that I want to be putting into my new world on 1.9. This was a downwards elevator. Completely useless. Slow. There's no reason to do it at all, but that's the sort of thing that was a lot of fun, just to slide into random places in a world, which I'd love that sort of thing going forward everywhere. The same way with the farms not being also automatic. Ice isn't a good example, but this is the part where you have a mass farm, extreme sized farm, so you could just wait for it to all finish freezing and collect them all at once, and this still lags the the internal server of Minecraft when you move the pistons. So this was one of the old style mass farms. I would love to do an extremely complicated and convoluted ice farm in the future. Really want to do a very fun, crazy one. So we're going to skip through parts of the world and just highlight things that were really interesting or point out some mechanics and things. So next up, the old sort of hub base area underground. You have old storage method, which is just chests. Old slime farms. For this one, there's only one platform. One of my very first little fun farms. Just a key note on this though, I love having farms that you can turn on and off. So like this. Now the difference being in my second Let's Play world, I was more focused on having big farms. I didn't take much care for lag on the world, so my big systems and automation got really big and were quite heavy on the game itself. Now, going forward onto my 1.9 world, the motif is to combine both the first world and the second world in one. So the farms will be really big and also automatic, but also when they have collected enough resources, so filled up their chests, whatever you want to do, they will then turn themselves off. So they don't end up lagging the world out basically. And also that's a really cool extra piece of engineering to put into every single build, and I really want to do that as much as possible. I won't go through all the little tiny things around here because there's lots of stuff, and there is ancient episodes of my first series that you can have a look at if you want to. Just a key thing, more hidden tunnels. I do like hidden tunnels. And actually, just before I forget, this was my very first contraption in 1.2 something, 1.3, when Tripwires first came out anyway. Don't quote me on the exact snapshot and everything. This was my very first contraption with them, and this was about 30 wide door. Something that was fun at the time, and I'm very pleased that it still works. I'm very surprised it does. And another example here of my large and mostly useless things that I like to do in the old world. This is a portal room. There is a portal there, and I just like playing around with stuff, and I would like to do that going forward in the new world. You know, something that looks fun. And in here again, like other bits in the world, there is random hidden rooms. And before we go on, two things. This, yeah, this was in my chests. So yeah, you can see that is an old version. And at some points in the game, you're able to duplicate eggs. So that's from then. And on with it all. So this is a entrance into the base, which you just fall in basically. Nice little tiny quirks. Now this is the above ground. These are the old iron farms I mentioned. They feed the iron golems into this portal in the middle. Keep that portal in your mind because I'm going to show you a couple other portals and then show you where they actually go. Because this was a really cool piece of engineering back before hoppers were in the game. So you could actually store items over long periods of time without letting them despawn. Another example of pointless things that I did which I really liked. This is a jungle and temple from another place in the world. Completely other place in the world. I think no, thousands of blocks away when it first came introduced. Because this jungles didn't spawn with the jungle temples at this point. I might have to go and collect a whole jungle and transpose it here. Along with this, it wouldn't be the same on this world without more hidden things around. So these are multiple ways to get into and out of the base downstairs, different lifts, different ways up and down, you know, all sorts of little tiny hidey cubby holes, which I have a lot of trouble trying to remember all the ones I have. Okay, so on to the little farms over here. Now, I did like doing these quite a lot, and I think I made some farms which I think, in my opinion anyway, looked really good at the time, and I really like them. So things like this, which you probably will never see really going forward on any world. This was an old really old way of doing a lot of wheat at once. So this did several hundred wheat at once on multiple levels, and they all flowed through with water down to the middle and into you at once. So the whole point would be that they grow after a while. You then harvest all of them at once on every level, then all come down, you collect them and put them into chests. And then eventually potatoes, carrots came in, so they got used for that as well. Oh, there is some. And there's a sugarcane thing on the top of this as well, a little one. Before I made my big sugarcane farm, which is this one. So this one was an automatic farm as well, with buds and going through. I love this design, I think it looks really nice. And even the redstone is probably quite good still compared to what you can do now. So that feeds through down into the center, into the water there. That water then feeds underneath here and down here into that portal. Okay, remember that portal. It's the same portal that connects the iron farm to the Nether as well over there. So this monstrosity is something that I really like, actually. If you ever wanted to have a large amount of things at once, you had to have a big farm. So this was a fully iron block farm for pumpkins. I don't remember. That's the one. So it all fall down. I think it did something 20 something stacks in a go. So as there's no hoppers here, then they'd all have to go somewhere, or you'd have to collect them at once. But for this farm, I've got it all going down into there, into the portal, which we will have a look at in a bit. Oh, spillage. Tree farms. Tree farms, this was something that I came up with, which I thought was hilarious. So basically all this is a snake of dirt going up with light in between, so that the trees could grow, and as they're oak they can grow almost next to each other. Going upwards, all you'd have to do is go to the top and basically just cut all the trees down all the way down, and all of the wood would flow. There was hoppers at this point into here, so you would get a whole load of them that would come in eventually, and then you'd go back and plant them, and they've got water up in the middle to bring it down. Now tree farms probably not going to do anything like that anymore, because automatic free tree farms were so much better in the long haul. Okay, one last stop I think in this bit of overworld, and just to give you an idea on things that I did like to do in the previous world. Actually saying that there is somewhere over here another hidden thing. Is this one? Ooh, does that not work? Let me see. Oh, there we are. So under here, I've really got to work out what still works and what doesn't work. Under here, you can see the underground part of this. Now, this was going to be a tunnel going underneath there eventually, but just from under here, you can see that this is one giant landmass that I created. You can't believe how much time it takes to use lava. I remember it very clearly, to create a landmass. Oh, that's it. So let's go have a look at this over here. The last thing in the overworld. This was I would say a joy, but it wasn't, and I didn't finish it in the end. It was a huge project. Was a complete note to myself that I filled in all the blocks underneath everything. They weren't just sort of a shell. So all of the blocks filled in all the way across, and that was what was being built, because it was going to be the kind of focal point of the base. And this is where I learnt that you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew, because this was really extreme. and I hadn't really thought through what I actually wanted it to do. It just looked cool at the time. Okay, so let's hop into the Nether now and we'll see what's there. Okay, so earlier I pointed out those portals. This is where they come through. We got one portal that I come through normally, and this portal held all the materials coming through from all of the farms. So you could be in the overworld and these would build up here, and then when you come through they would all, either you could collect them all manually, or they would go through after a number of updates into hoppers. Now these hoppers are mostly full up, yeah, so they're all backed up with all sorts of things, so they're not currently doing their job, but oh well. So for instance, you could just keep doing this, and it's even got sugarcane behind that as well. So yeah, that's the principle. Now this is what you can do still. It works. It works here. We're in in the 1.9 snapshots. It still works. It's a thing, and therefore the kind of storage on this world was split up between a few chests in the main base, and the rest of it was in bulk storage here, which was a nice idea in the Nether, but again, I don't want to be doing this going forward. I've clearly planned out my new world spawn, how it's going to work, and it will be very functional and really allow me to go and do lots of projects very quickly. Okay, next, the old gold farm. So this was my first attempt at a real gold farm. This is above the top of the Nether, like most of the gold farms have been. I'm not sure in 1.9 if you can still do that or not. I have to look into it. So this did something like 4,000 nuggets an hour or something, I quoted it as. No idea if it does that anymore. It's a very long time ago. So this was actually built with the same principle as my original Enderman farm design. Different spawning floors though slightly to stop other things from spawning up here, which you wouldn't have to take into account for Enderman. But it's basically the same design, but just adjusted for a too high mob. I do love that design. And again, I put a lot of time into thinking of how to design things that looked a little bit nicer. Things that were potentially pointless, I like to do anyway. And I have converted this world into the 1.9 snapshot, so I have lost all the portals everywhere. So in this again, there was hoppers at this point. No sorting systems, we didn't come up with that at that point. It wasn't a thing. So there was no sorting of the extra bits and throw them away. So things like this, I like the patterns, I like the colours. I was a good fan of this when I built it, really was. And yeah, it's pretty. So next, the old wither farm, I guess. And here we are. For some reason I can't look at this straight on. So this, like a lot of things, you could take slight advantage in the old versions that you could have this. So when you had a version change and the train generation altered, you would have parts where the whole world was kind of cut off. Now this particular one was very useful for a gold farm because it meant that I wouldn't have a huge amount of land mass basically in the way of messing up my spawning rates in a farm. Now this was done in the infantile stages of wither farms, back when the spawning wasn't quite understood, and also I did come to the conclusion that this farm took a very long time, I think about 30 hours to build, and I only really needed to get a few skulls and then I could then use them. No, I would need a massive farm to get all the skulls that I needed. I wouldn't need any skulls after I collected the first load. So now inside the farm, this again was a functional yet very, very pretty farm. I still think it's pretty. I love the differences between them. I love the lava I love the cage. I love everything about this little tiny farm, even down to the point where it's basically also a cactus farm, more than just being deterrent for the magma cubes which do spawn these farms. And I'm actually in that, so don't worry about that. So this was just a very, very basic farm over a cross section of a fortress, and the whole principle was that things would spawn, and if there are wither skeletons then you kill them, and I would just jump between and see if I could find any and just kill them manually whenever they were any. Don't know if it works anymore because the fortress mapping changed a bit. There's a chicken, okay. So they probably don't work on here anymore, but in the original world itself, in the ender chest, it still has that many skulls, so 49 skulls in there, on top of all the things that I ever had on the world. So it still worked pretty well at the time, but it was very, very manual and time consuming. But still, I thought it was a very, very pretty farm. Okay, forward we go. And finally, the Enderman farm. It wouldn't be a King Plays world or anything else without a fun Enderman farm. I think this was the third or so iteration of an Enderman farm on this Let's Play. Lots of redesigning, lots of rebuilding, and it still works fine. I know some mechanics might have changed 1.9, and we would have to review that at the point. I always like quirky things like that. It's always very fun. So that is it for this video. I've had a lot of fun. It's been a lot of nostalgia with seeing all these old builds, these old farms, the old mechanics, and seeing what we could do and did do without things like slime blocks and other contraptions like redstone, which wasn't available at that time. So please, if you have liked anything in this video that you've seen on the builds, or hated, especially if you've hated, please tell me in the comments so that I can really factor them into the new world going forward. Like I said, I've got a seed. I think I'm going to use the 1.9. I'm just waiting for it to come out. So I've got plenty of time to change my designs or alter them to be more fun, or get rid of some things or put other things in. So next time I'm going to do a video on my Series 2 world, similar to this. If you haven't seen either of the worlds, or you've missed a whole world or something, it'd be nice a recap for you to see what I have done in the past and get a little taste of what I'm going to do in the future. I have to admit, my 1.9 world will be extreme. So I thank you again for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next time.